And check 1, 2, check 1, 2. Good evening, everyone. Good evening and welcome to the Holly Manor Community Boundary Study, Meeting 1, here at Westchester Elementary School Cafeteria. My name is Chris Percato. I'm a specialist in the Office of Strategic Planning. I'd like to invite everyone to please take your seats, committee members at the table up front, and any of our observers this evening at the tables marked for observers. We ask that everyone please make sure you sign in, observers on the pink sheets and committee members on the green sheets in the back. In the event of an emergency that we have to evacuate for fire or any other reason, we will be using those sheets to check for accountability to make sure that everyone, that we have everyone with us. Do take a moment to notice your exits. We can exit back at the way we came in, through the front entrance of the cafeteria, out to the front of the building, or there's a side exit here that exits onto the side parking lot. Restrooms are just outside the front entrance there, should you need to avail yourselves to those. If you have any questions this evening, please look for staff members wearing these orange lanyard cards, and we will certainly be available to help you. All the materials for this meeting will be available on our website at www.bcps.org. At the bottom of that page, there's a link to boundary studies, and by clicking on the Holly Manor boundary study page, you'll find all the materials, all the maps, the PowerPoint presentation as we go along through the study. That's also a place where we can invite public comment. There's a public comment section to that webpage as well, where we welcome any comment from the public or our observers, and we will direct our committee members to check those comments as well throughout the process. We welcome our BCPS-TV team here with us tonight. We are live streaming for those that can't join us in person. So that means committee members, should you need to speak, please raise your hand. One of us will be around with a microphone so that we can capture your voices for the meeting record video. We do remind our observers that there's a code of conduct. This meeting is for committee members' work, and we request that observers not interfere, approach, or speak with committee members throughout the process. And there are documents on your table to remind you of that. Thank you very much. And with that, I'm going to give it over to Mr. Paul Taylor, Director of the Office of Strategic Planning.
Thank you, Chris. Good evening, everybody. Can you advance the slide, please? Okay. First thing I'd like to do is do introductions. One of the things that we do in these boundary processes is we make sure we have enough offices that represent different aspects of the school system to help answer any questions and to get data that the committee might need in order to make a decision. So I'd like to introduce those who represent different offices. The first one I'll introduce is myself, my name is Paul Taylor. I'm the Director of the Office of Strategic Planning. Other members of the Strategic Planning team are Melissa Appler, Coordinator, Mike Godfredson, Specialist, and you met Chris Mercado, Specialist. And I'm going to ask the other officers to introduce themselves. I'll mention the office, then if you could stand up and mention yourself. Student Support Services.
Good evening, I'm Tricia Musser. I'm the Director of Student Support Services, everything from school counseling to psychological, social work, and just supportive services all the way around for students. Thank you.
Thank you. Special Education.
Jason Karolkowski, Senior Project Specialist for the Department of Special Education. Our department basically supports and oversees the regional special ed service delivery models within schools. We also work to help coordinate the full day preschool pre-K within schools as well.
Thank you. Department of Schools.
Good evening, I'm Dr. Morrow. I am the Executive Director who supports both Hillcrest and Westchester. In this process, I am here to help facilitate any work or answer any questions as we move forward, and here to help and support and serve.
Thank you. Educational Opportunities and Services.
Hi, I'm Brian Stoll. I'm the coordinator in the Office of Magnet Programs. We oversee the 32 schools that have magnet programs in the county, and we manage the application and admissions process. And I'm certainly here to answer any questions you may have about the work of my office.
Thank you. Equity and cultural proficiency.
Good evening. My name is Dr. Jaquetta Johnson. I am the specialist for the West Zone, and in this capacity, I'm here this evening just to provide support as well as add an equity lens to the process.
Thank you. And communication and community outreach.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Charles Herndon. I'm a specialist in the Department of Community, or the Office of Communications, and the Department of Communications and Community Outreach. We are here to work with the media, work with a variety of other communications needs and support of the committee. That includes our friends BCPS-TV in the back. They're part of our department, as well as my colleague here, who I'll introduce. Well, she can introduce herself right now.
Everybody knows me. No. I'm Susan Hahn, the Office of Family and Community Engagement. So we're here for outreach, and we want to let all your community members know that this is going on. So please help us spread the word.
And,
Thank you very much.
and while we don't have, this isn't an office, but we do also have a Spanish interpreter available. Miss Emma is here with us. So should anyone request or need Spanish interpretation for the meeting tonight, we have that resource available. Thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you. I'm going to go over the agenda for this evening. You can advance the slide. All right, went through the introductions. The next thing we're going to do is we're going to talk about the process that we're going to undergo, the timeline for that process, your role as committee members, and the objective of this boundary study. Then we're going to do an overview of the recommendation report. That's the binder you have. It has a lot of information and data that we're going to go over and explain it to you. Then we're going to have an activity where you as a group will talk about the things that we've discussed, the data that's in the book, and any other information. You'll then report out so that the public can hear what you talked about. That's why we have these microphones. This is being live streamed, and this video will be on the website once we're finished. And last, we're going to hopefully approve an option that will go to the public information session, and then give you an overview of the public information session process. So even though we're about to go over it briefly, you have 3 meetings that you will attend. This meeting, the public information session, and then a final meeting to vote on the option that will be recommended to the board. So this is the first meeting, and today you're going to vote on which option or an option to send to the public information session. And I'll now introduce Mike Godfreyson, and he'll go over it in more detail.
Thanks, Paul. Good evening, everybody. Thank you again for being here tonight. We appreciate you making time away from your families to be here and spend some time with us. So we'll just briefly review a few background things about this process and how it works. First, at the very beginning, we can kind of walk through your binder a little bit too. So at the beginning there, you've got the policy in Rule 1280, and this is what guides this whole process. Whether it be a small or large boundary study, the process is the same as currently written. This is a process that's driven by you all as the committee members, the principals, teachers, and parents on this committee. And then as you go through this process, you're expected to review the data, the options, and then deliberate with each other to then work towards a recommendation. We do engage the public throughout this. Later on, we'll explain some of the ways that the public is engaged throughout this process. As Paul said, you've got 3 meetings, all on Wednesdays. Our public information session will be on October 16th, and then the last meeting will be on November 13th. You notice on this calendar we also have a few other things. Outlines the online survey that'll be going on in conjunction with the public information session that'll run for about a month in between the public information session and the final meeting. And then on the right-hand side there, you've got the board dates. Those are a little bit out. Those are in the spring. That's typically how these work. When we have these in the fall, the board will have they'll receive the recommendation, they'll hold their public hearing, and then make their decision in the spring. Again, your attendance is appreciated here tonight, and hopefully you can attend all the meetings. As we go through this, there's some primary considerations and secondary considerations. The primary considerations are here: efficient use of capacity in affected schools, maintaining or increasing the diversity among schools to reflect the diversity of the region and the school system. So these are kind of the two primary things we look at whenever we're doing a boundary change. And then some secondary considerations can include any of these following. In any particular study, these may or may not apply. There may be some additional considerations as well that may make sense for a committee to review, but these are just some examples of some things to think about whenever we're adjusting boundaries. As far as the representation on the committee, we've got 9 members, 7 are voting members. We have 2 principals that do not vote. They're here to help facilitate the conversation, but they don't vote on the recommendation. We have we have a staff member from each school, and we have 2 parents from each school, as well as an area educational advisory council chair. Yeah, there you go, thank you. We appreciate you being here. Just a couple of things as we talk about the committee. The one thing we ask is that you suspend your parochial interest to look at what's best for all kids. Even though you have on your name badge, it says your name and the school that you're from, we're asking you not to be like a delegate from that school so much looking to fight for your neighborhood or fight for any of this. We're really just looking for you to fight for the kids in the whole area. Represent of all the community. We're gonna meet 3 times, and then we mentioned the collaboration. We're gonna do this one again. This one's a little bit smaller than some of the bigger ones, but just still the idea is still the same. We want all the collaboration to take place in the meeting, not outside the meeting, before or after the meeting, where you actually make your decisions. We want the public to be able to have a transparent ability to see why you came up with your decision the way you did it. And then ultimately, we'll have a recommendation that the board will then make the final decision on things. A few notes about community engagement. This is a key part of the process. On the website, on the screen here, we've got both a QR code for the website and for the comment link. These are actually used. The website will be updated throughout the process. After every meeting, materials will be uploaded there for all the things that are in your packets tonight, as well as the presentation. The live stream link is there, as well as the recording from tonight will be available for folks to be able to see there. The comments, there's a link there for public to be able to submit comments. Those are given to you guys for verbatim. We don't edit those. So for anyone that's watching or that anyone asks about doing that, be careful what they post on there, because it'll put on there. So be thoughtful with that, and we want to review those. We invite the community to observe these meetings either in person or online, to attend the public information session where they can communicate with you guys directly on their thoughts on things, as well as participate in the online survey, where they'll be presented with the information and presented with the options and be given some things to select about how they like or dislike the options and why they like or dislike it. And then finally, they can also attend the public hearing to tell the board directly their feelings about the recommendation. A few notes about assuring equity and accessibility throughout this process. Translation of materials is available upon request. The video recordings of tonight's meeting are translated via the YouTube system and other languages. We have the interpreter for Spanish here at all meetings. If there's any others that are requested, we'll get those here upon request. The survey will be translated in multiple languages. For transparency, all the business is done at the meetings. And then for additional information about the efforts the system does to promote equity, encourage you to read policy 0100. All right, and then with that, I'll have Melissa talk you through this particular study and the objectives of it.
Good evening. So the objective of this boundary study is to realign the attendance boundaries along Beaumont Avenue. Currently, this is a dead end. A berm was created, and this affects Westchester and Hillcrest Elementary Schools. It does not impact the middle school or high school boundaries, just the elementaries. So as you can see here from this map, the current Westchester boundaries are in that purple pinkish color, and the Hillcrest boundary is in this light green color down at the bottom. And the impacted parcels, there's about 5 residential parcels in this area. The dead end is right here. So currently these parcels have to go up Beaumont Avenue, around Westchester to attend Hillcrest Elementary School once that dead end was created. So, and as of the 23-24 school year, there were 5 students in this area, in these impacted areas. As you can imagine, this has some impact on transportation and transportation efficiency with the bus routes. And I would like to ask Kenny West with the Department of Transportation to come up and speak to that.
Good evening. My name is Kenny West with the Department of Transportation. One of the ways we will provide support for this study is by just providing information. So as you have questions, we'll be happy to do so. And what I want to show here is the area Melissa just talked about is right here in red. So currently what we have is a school bus coming in. You can see the path it follows inside this neighborhood, to pick up students here within a boundary that attends a different school. So while the goal here is to also align the neighborhood, it will create some transportation efficiencies by not having buses from different schools overlapping. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer.
So getting to the recommended boundary. So tonight in your option report, you'll see that we have the recommended boundary, which is to align this neighborhood. So all 5 parcels go to Westchester Elementary School and move them from Hillcrest. This would align the continuity of the neighborhood and support the existing transportation routes. This table, it's also in your options report, shows the utilization of both schools. It shows your state rated capacity. That's how many students can reside in a school or how many seats that school has. The actual enrollment as of September 30th, 2023, the utilization of those schools, and then we gave you the 10-year projected enrollment so you can kind of see where they're expected to grow or not grow, or just their projected enrollment. In that report, there's also, while this is a small study and it's only about 5 students, we also provided the same information with that impact and what that would look like after the boundary study, if you implement this recommendation. Also in that option report, there's demographics. You'll have the demographics of both schools currently, and then the impacted post-boundary study demographics that you can look at. That's on page 10 in that recommendation report. There are also 3 maps showing the existing elementary, middle, and high school boundaries, so you can see where this is in perspective to or context to those boundaries. There's additional transportation information, does not impact walk boundaries, those types of things. And then there's the feeder pattern tables so you can see kind of what schools you feed to. At this time, we'd like to give you, as a group, some time to review that option report, and then we'd ask that during that time, you discuss as a group how the recommended option adheres or doesn't adhere to the objectives of the boundary study and the primary and secondary considerations that Mike previously discussed, which were on slides 6 and 7 in the PowerPoint that you have copies for in there as well. There's also a sheet on your table that if you can, you either can work in a big group together or one, 2 small groups. And we ask you to, if you can put any notes in the sheet on what you feel, how the recommended option meets those considerations or the objective of the boundary study. After that, we'll come back together and do a report out. And then if you're ready, we will vote on an option to send to the public information session. If you have any questions, just ask anyone. We'll be walking around. want to do this part because you're going to go to the vote?
Let me get ready with that one.
Okay. Not 7, right? Not 7.
Correct. All right, if you want to finish up their last discussions. As you kind of settle back in, is there anyone or ones that would like to share out on your discussions? You guys had some good discussions. I'd like to thank Kenny for his help in facilitating that as well. The questions on transportation. So we got the other mic here. Was anyone willing to give their 2 cents on what they, either their thoughts or what they kind of heard from the discussion as the group? Yeah, so we're just looking for anyone to want to share out anything that you guys talked about, either thoughts that you had personally or thoughts that you heard others sharing that you could do for the benefit of the broadcast in a couple times.
Yeah. So we mainly looked at, first we had a question about, is there a way for those 5 houses to just walk through the dead end and pick up the bus on the other side? But the stop was pretty far. Mm-hmm. So we kind of tabled that one. And then, we talked about how would these kids, some of them may feel a connection with Hillcrest, some of them may be indifferent, some of them may have friends in the Westchester zone. So, the consideration for those families and what their preference is and how they feel, like if there is a strong connection to Hillcrest, we'd like to, that's a consideration. And then if their, friends are all in the Westchester neighborhood and they'd love, so I think we would like to know more about like what families are there, and what their thoughts are on that. But for the, and then we talked about transportation in depth about, it looks like from a transportation point of view, like it's a pretty obvious, these houses should be routed to Westchester. So we talked about all those options.
Super. No, that's a lot of good points there. Anyone else have anything to add on to that? Or is that a pretty good summation?
The only concern that we had was just the accommodation of students on the bus. The bus that travels in that area now is quite a lot of students. So just the addition of however many students it may be, at some point we just wanted to make sure that transportation was, one, aware of it, and 2, what things we could do to mitigate that problem. If it becomes a problem and there are too many students for the one bus that is provided to us at this time. We've had 2 buses in the past, so that could become something that we might want to look into in the future. So.
Very good. No, so this is excellent. So I just want to highlight one thing real quick before we move on to the voting. This is exactly the stuff why you guys are on the committee. Your insights on this are outstanding, so thank you for that. So we are going to go on to the next little bit. This is our ActiVote exercise. I don't know if you guys ever use this. We're one of the few, I think, offices in the system that still actually use these things, but we find them to be pretty good. So you have an ActiVote device. The principles, we need one more, Chris. Yeah, our community area. I always count wrong. I don't know why it is. I have such a hard time counting at these things. So these ActiVote devices are pretty simple. We've got it. We'll pull this up, Chris. We'll have a yes/no question for you about this recommendation if you're comfortable taking this to the public information session. It's an A for yes, a B for no. So hit that little green button there, Chris. Just a little green button.
Take 7 off. Is that correct?
I think you're okay. What's the number do you have there?
I have 3. Right. But I have 7.
Okay, yeah. So you just highlight that one. So
I'm sorry, I'm not seeing the green.
no, you're just hit the green button there.
Gotcha.
There you go. And then you grab the 7. All right, so we've got a number that corresponds to your thing here. So when you click your button, A for yes, B for no. So that what we're asking you tonight, if you're comfortable recommending the recommended option for the public information session. On the bottom of your device, there's a number so you can see if your vote's been counted. There'll be a little red thing there. This works a little better when we only have 6 of you. Last time we had about 60 votes on this thing. It was harder to see all the things in the back of the room, so it's a little bit easier there. So we got 2 more we're waiting on here to take to the public information session. So how this will work then, if you guys are comfortable taking this to the public information session, there we go. So we got everyone comfortable with that. So go ahead. It's a good job, everyone. The devices worked well. That's good. When everything works as it should, you're never quite sure how that's going to go. Go ahead and pull back up the PowerPoint, Chris, and I'll kind of talk you through what the public information session and things look like. So here in about a month, so October 16th, here in the same room, we'll have the public information session. At this meeting, we'll meet in person. We'll ask you to please arrive about a half hour before so we can kind of get you briefed on kind of how that'll go. So we'll have any public that shows up, we'll walk them through a presentation similar to what we gave you guys tonight, explaining the process, explaining the option, and then we'll have up these big maps we'll have up for the public, and we'll probably with just the slides, we'll probably just have 1 section, maybe 2, depending on the number of people that show up. And after the presentation, we'll just be there to be able to talk to folks. Hopefully the folks that are that affected most will be there so we can get their input on that. We'll also have an online survey that'll kick off that same night. It'll be available in Burmese, English, Spanish, and Urdu. The survey will be able to take on any device with internet capabilities. It'll be a very short survey, really just one question: do you like this or do you not like it? Why or why not? And then a place they can write in some comments as well if they have some thoughts on that. And then the survey will open for about a month or a few weeks there from October 16th to the 3rd. When that's closed, then we'll tabulate the results. We'll provide that both to the public and to you guys to provide it to the next meeting. So Chris, if you want to go on to the next one. And so then kind of our next steps here, so we have the public information session, and then after that we'll have our next meeting on the 13th. We'll provide the results from the survey, talk through any feedback we've gotten on the comment form, any things like that. If there's any adjustments or anything we need to do, we can do that at that point too. Before we wrap up, have any questions about anything, next steps, or anything we did here tonight? Again, thank you so much for being here. Your input was outstanding. We look forward to seeing you guys in a few weeks.